St. Kieran's will face one of these teams next year, either in Piarsaigh or Croagh Kilfinny, who meet in the Limerick Intermediate Hurling Championship final. It's been a long time coming. They both got through their respective semi-finals back in late October, but I'd say the finals are delayed owing to the Piarsaig's Munster commitments in football and hurling. But we'll have the final this Sunday at 1 o'clock in Ballyagran. Both teams have perfect records going into the final, Matt. One of them will have to lose that perfect start. Last year, Croke were beaten in the final by Effin. The previous year, Newcastle West beat the Piarsaigh in the final after extra time. So it's finally Pies game between two sides that have been so far ahead of the field for the majority of the championship, it's fair to say.
Yeah, it's the bridesmaids of the last 2 years, I suppose, Jack, you could describe them. But certainly two teams that are certainly there on merit. And I'm a small bit disappointed and I'm sure the teams are disappointed as well at the way this thing has dragged on. They played their semi-finals, I think, in late October, which will be 6 weeks from the time that they will square up in the final on Sunday. And it was a kind of a forgotten competition, but it raises something that I've touched on in the last couple of weeks about a reformatting of the championships in Limerick. Like the intermediate championship in terms of provincial fare is going nowhere. And I think that's unfortunate, like that the winners don't get an opportunity, to progress. So, but having said that, like we have the ingredients of we've the ingredients of a cracker, Jack, absolute cracker, and like you have Croagh Kilfinny, like who are on a dream role for the club, like the club that made the breakthrough in 2020 when they won the Junior A Championship for the first time, then progressed on to intermediate in 2021 and reached the final, like which was a fair achievement. And you'd say to yourself at that stage, when they lost the final, they lost the final rather convincingly, I suppose, Tiff and Jack, you were there that day when we saw the Patrick O'Donovan show. You'd say to yourself, was there danger of regression after it? Not a bit of it. They've stepped on and they've picked up again and they're in the final and rightly in the final. But Jack, they're Ballyagran won the Waterford Senior Championship for the 9th time, and their intermediate team won the Waterford Intermediate Championship. So the Piarsaigh winning the Limerick Senior Hurling Championship and the Intermediate Championship in the same year is not as unthinkable as it might seem. Because I was just looking through it in the Piarsaigh squad, and you daren't move beyond number one.
Yeah.
Like, who's seen it all, done it all, absolutely fantastic, and former All-Star, and equally adept to making a contribution at the other end of the field should close in freeze arise. I'm talking about Shane Dowling, of course.
Of course, yeah.
And it was awful that his inter-county career was cut short by injury, but it's great to see that he has the opportunity to do what he loves to do, and that's play the game. And like he has made a huge contribution, both as a shot stopper and a scorer at the other end, all in the one season. And to be honest, somebody like Shane Dowling could do that. But your fellas like James O'Brien, your fellas like Niall Buckley, your fellas like Pat Leeson, David Green, all these lads have been around the senior team for quite a while. And they will bring a huge level of experience. But what they will bring, of course, as well, and I suppose both sides in many ways will share this. They will bring a winning mentality, Jack. Like the Piarsaigh, like we've stood back at distance and admired and are in awe of their underage structures. And like you fellas coming through like on this that are coming through this intermediate team now. Fellas like Vince Harrington, who was very, very, very good with Limerick Minors. You've JJ Carey, like who helped Ardskull reach to to a first Croagh Cup earlier this year. He's on the panel, but not making the starting 15. So it gives you an idea of what the strength is of this Na Piarsaigh team. To dismiss them because they're a second team, you do it at your peril. This is a very, very formidable Na Piarsaigh team. Whether they'll be good enough to beat Croagh, I don't know. I think it's very, very close. I scratch my head and trying to come down on one side or the other, but I come down slightly in favour that the Croagh might edge it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting matchup, and it's good when the two best teams in the competition meet in the final. It promised to be a cracking game. I think the Piarsaigh experience might just edge it for them, but I think we can both agree that it'll only be probably a one-score game, whichever side it falls on.
Absolutely, and whichever side wins, it will be playing Premier Intermediate Championship next year, and they certainly will embellish that competition, no doubt about it.
Yeah, we've seen teams intermediate recently have kind of come up. This year, Newcastle, Glenroe, KP, Munger, they've all come into Premier Intermediate and laid down their marker fairly early. So there's no reason why this should be in the line for these teams. Obviously, Na Piarsaigh can't get promoted again. This Premier Intermediate will be as high as they can go, but that's for another day. But it does promise to be a cracking game this Sunday in Ballyagran at 1:00.